12D model for Civil 3D users. So the main questions that I've been asked from Civil 3D users is the functionality exactly the same as 12D? And as a Civil 3D user and a 12D user, the conversion is actually pretty straightforward, which I'll explain in this video. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is sort of the graphical display. Civil 3D is generally a plan view in all instances, and yes, you can split the view up into different configurations like this to sort of see the plan profile separately. Essentially it's still the same plan view. 12D on the other hand has a couple of ways of doing it. We have the same plan view, so that's exactly the same. You could sort of turn on as many plans as you like and sort of show what you want to see in just that plan. That's where it sort of differentiates itself. Whereas in Autodesk Civil 3D, you can open lots of plans, but in essence, you got to show the same thing in the same plans. You know what I mean? You see the same reference files, or you see the same layers, the same color of the layers. And in 12D, you can turn on whatever you like. You can change the colors of things, and so forth. But we also have section views. Section views, you can sort of take a section of any string. You can sort of visually temporarily see sections of certain things, or you can pick on sort of cross sections and sort of move along the chainage one by one and sort of see things separately. And then finally we have perspective view, and that perspective view is sort of managed the same way as plan and section view. You sort of can turn on what you want to see only. You can sort of rotate around, run along the road like sort of as a vehicle, that sort of thing. So I'll quickly just show a view of the the long section, and you can sort of change the exaggeration, how you want to look at it. You can sort of move along the alignment and see where you are in plan profile, which is exactly the same as sort of Civil 3D, but in Civil 3D you sort of have to pick the alignment that you want to show, station tracker, turn it on, and sort of move along. I mean, that's essentially the same thing, but 12D you don't have to. It basically just shows you whatever section you've grabbed. It will just show you where you are in the plan view. So I'll just run through some of the tools. First and foremost, alignment creation tool is exactly the same as 12D alignment tool, but we just basically create a super alignment, and then basically you set up your settings the same as Civil 3D, hit create, and then basically create your IPs in horizontal view, and then to do your vertical, you just have to take a section or view the section of that alignment, and then basically you create or click your VIPs. Obviously there's no tin out there, but and basically it's exactly the same. You do your plan first, and then your vertical, and then basically what you'll find in 12D is it becomes a 3D entity. So there's an X, Y, Z. So everything's got a Z value, as opposed to Civil 3D, whereas your plan alignment is still a 2D object. You sort of need to grab your 3D elevation from the profile. So the next point is probably create alignment from objects, and all that's really doing is sort of converting a plan view object and creating alignment out of it. And 12D does the same thing. If you've got, say, a CAD center line somewhere, you need to convert it to a super alignment. That's just down to utilities, A to G, convert, and then you can basically convert anything to an alignment or a super alignment, or a drainage string, or pipeline, or culvert, anything. That's the next point is probably I won't go into the drainage. I'll go into profile. I mean, in Civil 3D, you have to sort of create a profile for every alignment. So, for example, this one here has got, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different alignments in this project. I mean, I've seen some projects that I've been in where I've sort of manually modeled, you know what I mean, a whole project, and I've had, you know what I mean, 100 different profiles. So in 12D, you don't really need to do that. You don't need to create a surface for every profile. You sort of go to 12D, click on your alignment, and you just turn on whatever you want to see. So if you want to see different tins or different surfaces or different strings or pipelines, you sort of just turn it on. So the next thing I want to talk about is probably, I won't talk about corridors yet, I'll talk about assemblies. Assemblies in 12D are known as templates, and it's the same sort of concept. From the center line, you sort of draw which parts you want to run along an alignment. So for this instance, there's probably like 10 different templates. And in 12D, it's the same thing. We go to templates and we sort of create a template, or we can view the template, and it just draws it up in this sort of this sort of system. So I'll just show you one which is full width. So basically it's the same as a template, except it hasn't created the base level. That's sort of done separately in a boxing file, which I won't talk about in this video. So once you've done your your assembly, your template, and you've done your horizontal and vertical alignment, Civil 3D, you know what I mean, you'll open up Corridor and you apply templates along that alignment. In 12D, it's done pretty much same way, but we do it under apply MTF, and that's basically saying apply many templates. And it's the same concept. You sort of open it up, pick your alignment, open up the MTF, set the templates along the alignment, hit apply, and then every time you want it to sort of update, you sort of just hit reapply, and yeah, that's sort of the same concept. So the next thing I want to talk about is feature lines. Feature lines in Civil 3D are a bit of a joke, really. Feature line is essentially a 3D polyline. But basically, you need a feature line in 12D, in Civil 3D, because your objects ain't the same entity. You've got, you know what I mean, a plan, and then you've got a profile. So basically, this object here isn't actually hasn't got X, Y, Z, so you can't actually triangulate it or tin it. But in 12D, sort of essentially everything is a feature line. So I find like sometimes the easiest ways to model stuff is to sort of create alignment in plan view, work out what the vertical geometry is, and then tin it. And you can't really do that in Civil 3D. You sort of have to, I mean, you create your horizontal alignment, but you then have to create the profile of the alignment, and then you got to create a feature line off an alignment, and then you got to add it to a surface, and then you got to tin it. So every time you've got an update, you've got to go through those steps every single time, which is quite a tedious process, especially when you have to sort of remove the break lines from the surface if you don't want them anymore. Yeah, I mean, it might not make sense right now, but you just have to sort of trust me that I'll demonstrate in another video. But the process of manually modeling is a lot quicker in 12D because the entities are fully contained 3D objects. I'll just quickly move on to pipe networks. I mean, I haven't got a pipe network in this project, but in 12D I have, and essentially it's the same as a pipe network. You basically go down to drainage, hit create, and then basically draw your pits, and then it sort of connects pipes. And it's the same in 12D where you do that. You sort of select your manholes and you size your pipes up. But the difference is in 12D, stormwater analysis is sort of all calculated within the model. You don't have to go to a third-party piece of software to sort of work out the sizes of pipes based on, you know, I mean, your rainfall graphs and that sort of thing. The next thing, I guess, is sample lines. Sample lines in Civil 3D, I guess, are just different intervals of the sections along the road, and 12D does the same thing. At the moment, the intervals for mine are sort of every 5 meters, but if you wanted to create additional section lines or sample lines, you can do that pretty easily in 12D as well by changing the interval or filtering down or creating a special change file. Yeah. So we'll go onto the sort of the perspective tab in Civil 3D, and we'll go down to points and points groups. 12D, you can import points from, say, from a surveyor, XYZ, or DTM, DEM, and point clouds as well. And what that does is creates, you know what I mean, points in Civil 3D. And if you want to sort of group them together, it'll be contained under one model anyway. But if you wanted some of these points put onto another model, you just have to copy it. The next thing, I guess, is surfaces. Surfaces in 12D would be called a triangulation, or a tin, as we call it in 12D. And basically, how we tin in 12D is we basically pick models, and then those models can contain lots of different layers, and you can decide what you want to tin within each model. And basically, if you wanted to see different graphical representation, just like your surface display or your display in Civil 3D, we just have to. I mean, at the moment, these tins aren't just showing the triangles, but if we wanted to see the contours, we just have to turn it on. It's a bit flat, so I can't actually see it. So I'll just change the interval to say 01, and there are my contours. I mean, if we wanted to see flow arrows, which way they're going, that's in there as well. If we wanted to see, you know, I mean, cut fills, that can also be done by the analysis tool in here, and you can create ridge lines and basically manipulate a tin just like you can in AutoCAD. You just sort of got to go through the tools. So the next thing is probably sites. So sites in 12D would basically be what a model is. I mean, inside the model, it basically is a grouping together of different alignments and strings, and you know what I mean. And it's exactly the same as a site, but we just don't need we all of ours is sort of contained in models. And the next bit is intersections. Yeah, 12D has something. I think it manages it a little bit better in 12D for intersection design. It's just under design, roads, and then there's a library in there, and it's sort of similar to Civil 3D's intersection design, but I think it's a bit better. Shortcuts in Civil 3D. Shortcuts is basically sharing between different drawing files, or sharing like models, and 12D has that same functionality, except we just basically can share. We can share to anything. We just basically pick. We just turn on which models can be shared in one project, and then in another project we just add them. And then basically, if someone updates something in another project, it sort of gets updated in our project. So it's the same as shortcuts. And then probably next is in the draw commands and the modify commands, we have the same thing in 12D. Basically, in CAD you can draw anything you like in here. We've got lines and polylines and in points and that sort of thing on the side here, but we can also duplicate, parallel, reverse, split, break, explode. Same sort of thing in 12D is what you can do in same things you can do in Civil 3D you can do in 12D. So yep, that's it. Does 12D have equivalent functionality to Civil 3D? And is it easy to use? I believe it does, 100%. I think it's easier to use. However, from a drawing production point of view, I certainly think that the best option is to export from 12D in that instance. Because like, I mean, a number of draftsmen can't get into this project. That's for probably one issue. And also uh, from a traditional drawing production point of view, Civil 3D, AutoCAD Lite or Bentley MicroStation or even BricsCAD um, certainly outperform 12D's drawing production capabilities.